Welcome back to the What the Fork podcast on a brisk and sunny morning in Glasgow. Well, at least from my perspective. First and foremost, thanks for tuning in after one of the most forgettable games I think I've ever seen at the Stadium Light. So, look, we're going to promise to reward you with giggles and silly chat, or at least our giggles and our silly chat that we find particularly funny. You might not, but we will try. As we say, thanks to run through Sunderland's 1-0 home defeat to Swansea City, which just sounds really crap to begin with, doesn't it? But, let's start. To join me, two familiar faces, I've got Dave Lawrence. Dave, how are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Looking forward to picking the bones out of that one. Not sure there's too many to pick, but we keep going. It's just a little amble to the end of the season, and then we can have a bit of fun in the playoffs or cry. One of the two.
I'm used to the latter, to be honest. But Sophie, you've joined us as well. You had to watch that sad spectacle for a football game yesterday. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I think I'd have rather watched paint dry, to be honest.
Mm.
But, it's one of them. We move on, and I'm glad to be back on the pod after a little break to West Brom.
You had a 1 week break last week. Did you
Yeah.
have any second thoughts about coming back? Because I would have done it, to be honest.
No, never, never.
Good. Sophie, I'll stick with you. Look, forgettable. Like in the list of forgettable games at the Stadium Light, for some reason, it always seems to be one at home to Swansea. The only team to have a 100% record against Sunderland at the Stadium Light since we've come up into the Championship is Swansea. But and maybe people disagree with me on this, and that's fine. Like everyone's opinion's fine. For me, the result had little bearing on the season as a whole. We're fourth. I think to not be fourth, we have to lose every single game, and Bristol City have to win every single game. So we're fourth. But you don't like getting beat. We've had a night to sleep on it collectively. How are you feeling about the performance and kind of the feeling as a whole?
I mean, I felt like it was flat. It felt flat. I mean, there was no kind of urgency, I didn't think, at any part of the game. But, like you say, we're fourth. It's funny because you've got the top three battling for two spaces. Then you've got the rest battling for fifth and sixth, and we're in a total league of our own in fourth. So I think it's wise not to hit the panic button yet because there's still a month to go of games. Like that's what I think is so important. Okay, yeah, we're in the latter stages, but you know, a lot can change between now and the playoffs. So I just don't think it's the end of the world, but it was a flat performance.
Yeah, it was super flat. I think it felt like the fun. I don't know, like because I obviously have to get up at about 7 in the morning to travel down for a 3 o'clock game, and we got up, and it was just a feeling with me and Ash that like there was if we won, then we'd won, and you're great, and you're like, all right, fantastic, and you start talking about momentum and stuff like that, and if you lose, you go, oh God, this is terrible. But I think ultimately there's like nothing riding on it, and I think that maybe plays into the plays. There wasn't any urgency whatsoever. It was a really forgettable game. I don't think Swansea were that great. I actually don't think Swansea deserved to win it. The most animated the crowd got the entire game. The most animated I got was when the referee decided to just be one of them. I believe, I don't know, I haven't checked the fact on this. We've lost two home games at home well, obviously at home. We've lost two home games this season, and he's been the referee both times. I'm not saying that has a bearing on it, but he's like the opposite of Leo Yelder, or at least he was up until yesterday. But Dave, look, it doesn't have any real bearing on the season. We're going to finish fourth, which I think is a phenomenal achievement. I think it's really easy to lose sight of how good of a season it's been when we're in this. I think we've lost three of the last 10 or nine, which is not, it's not half, but it's probably closer to half than you would like. So I understand the worries with it. I definitely do. And we'll pick the bones of the players that are concerning us and stuff like that, really. But I think largely the result has no bearing on it in the same way that last week we were happy that we beat Millwall 1-0 and we were probably slightly better. Sorry, was it West Brom? I don't know. The games are all more than one. I just want to get the playoffs, to be honest. But now you've had a night to sleep over it. I know you're a bit more like me, Dave, and you're not like that. I wouldn't say not that worried. We're always worried as Sunderland fans, aren't we? But I think we're at a point, Dave, where we just want the playoffs, and there's not, for me, not too much to be concerned about. Are you kind of in the same camp?
Yeah, it's just purgatory, isn't it?
Aye.
It's genuinely just waiting for the good stuff to happen.
On the beach, on the beach.
Luckily, it tells you Swansea, just one of those fixtures. We have a few of them. Really hoping we avoid Cov in the playoffs because of said fixtures. We've conceded a goal to someone called Ronald. no disrespect to anyone called Ronald,
It
but
wasn't. It was Cabango.
oh,
It
was it?
was Cabango.
Oh,
One,
Flash scores came up with Ronald. Shows that's
I,
some
I actually don't know. I thought it was Cabango, but like this shows you how much I cared about it. Like I
exactly
didn't
that.
actually know who scored. I said would win 1-0, I think, but I didn't say it with much conviction. But there has been. I've always said this thing where there's not like don't believe in social media as a barometer of anything. But like I noticed it in the ground yesterday as well that there is worry creeping in because the performances haven't been great, probably for quite a while, if we're honest. Which is maybe a good thing that we haven't lost that many games considering we haven't been fantastic. But there was a few changes to the team yesterday, Sophie, because I think Regis Lebris for me is kind of said without saying we're on the beach. I think he's kind of said I don't want to risk anything here. But the fact that the reason Job was in the stands yesterday, there's a reason that certain players came in and Alan Brown was played at right back and Cirkin not being fit and all that kind of stuff. I think he knows the importance of keeping these important players fit for the playoffs. And there's a lot of people worried that this is going to backfire because we've got no momentum going in. For me, I think Southampton last year, they lost 3 of the last 4 games before they got into the playoffs, and then they obviously went on to win the playoffs. I think they won the semi-final convincingly from my memory. I think it was 3-1, 4-0, something like that against West Brom. Then they're going to beat Leeds 1-0. So in a way, I've talked about momentum. When you look at momentum, you don't need momentum to win the playoffs. Southampton proved that last season, which kind of blows my theory, or most people's theory, that you need momentum going into the playoffs. My concern is, and this is kind of based on the Twitter reaction and also at the same time, the reaction I felt within the stadium yesterday. In a sense, what Southampton did makes a mockery of you need to win games and have momentum before you go in. But I listened to like this really interesting podcast. This will shock you. About with Russell Martin with Gary Lineker, and he said some really interesting stuff about his next job. And I've gone from not liking Russell Martin to actually really liking him through the course of like an hour podcast. But he said something about picking his next job and his style of play, how it's not going to change. And he said, when I pick my next club, I have to pick the right club because the way my team plays, sometimes the goalkeeper will sit on the ball for 25 seconds until he finds the right pass, and I'm not going to change that. Some fans just won't accept it. And it made us think about this momentum thing with the playoffs, and it's a Southampton last season losing 3 or 4 and then winning the playoffs. Do you think it's a concern that the momentum's not necessarily needed within the team, but the kind of fan base that we are, we need the momentum because we're so used to like bad things happening. Just when you think something good's going to happen, a bad thing happens and you go, oh, there we go. Sunderland doing a Sunderland. And we all do it. I do it. We all do it. I know we do. And as a fan base, sometimes we need lifting and we need a little bit of an injection of confidence. It's not actually the team that needs momentum. And at the minute, because of the performances, the fans are maybe, in my opinion, the majority of fans are kind of maybe more worried than they should be because we've seen what the team can produce. But is it a concern that the team's performances are affecting the momentum within the fan base, which is probably the way this club is, needs the fans to be kind of on board going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that it's not necessarily. I mean, what I've seen from our team is that in the dressing room, we've got a tight knit group. And I think that's always important. But like you say, the crap that we've been served for years, I like even my time supporting Sunderland, I've only seen bad things. So I think especially when we're in fourth and we're so comfortable in the league and we've been treated to a really good season. There's no getting away from that. We've been spoiled. I remember having a season ticket when we didn't win one game at home for a year. Like and this season we've lost what, two at home. So, but I don't think that momentum is everything. But I agree with the idea of that we need to feel it because we need to feel like we're steamrolling in. And I think the fact that he's rotating, and I'm not against the fact that he is rotating. If anything, it's showing that he's thinking about the playoffs. He's preparing himself. Of course, we need to win games between now and then, but I think that preparation. I think it's been confused with him being a tinker man. and he's tinkering around with these teams. Well, actually, he's just trying to find the basis of how we're going to play. It's like I always think in the away leg, we're going to sit off the ball because we've done it at Norwich, we've done it at West Brom. I just think that that's the way he's going to do it, and then at home he's going to attack. So, but I do think that with our fan base that we need to feel it because whoever we're coming up against, they're going to go in on fire. There's no getting away from that. Whether that be Coventry, whether that be Bristol, Bristol are the most informed team in the league. So
I can't believe they're there. It's like, do you know when like that Little Britain sketch, how do you get there? I fell. I feel like I'm like, why is Bristol City there? But then I looked at their form, they are playing really well, and of course we've got them next Friday, which might be a good barometer. But like, I was just trying to work out because I was getting quite frustrated coming back on the train. Now I love our fans, and like I never speak, I try my best to never speak ill of them, which is stupid because everyone's different, and everyone has their own opinion. So you probably shouldn't have that all like encompassing feeling about a fan base. Everyone's their own individual person with their own individual thoughts and opinions. But I was just reading stuff like in reply, like Wilson's not a championship striker. I seen one where you paid 3 million for him, and that's what you're going to get. He's price tag dictates the kind of player he's going to be. Well, Kevin Phillips cost 350,000, and he was all right. He's pretty good actually. And I seen some like reactions to stuff, and I just thought like, where's this come from? Because we've had worse than this, and I feel like there's been people after the Norwich game were calling for Regis Lebris to be sacked, saying he's not the right man in charge. And I'm trying to work out, where does all this come from? And I kind of psychoanalyzed our own fan base, which is ridiculous, really. Because, like, well, I'm not a therapist, although I sometimes feel like I should be one. But I think when you're looking at the way the team's performing, it's not been great. It's not been like invigorating at the minute. When we've won games, it's been like 1-0, 2-1. It's been like not perfect performances, but you've won, you're happy, you've kept a clean sheet, it is what it is. And I was thinking, like, this fan base, I think is so scarred sometimes, me included. You talk about that season where we didn't win a game at home for like a year. I think when we did eventually win a game, it was Fulham at home, and we beat two more teams that season, which was Hull and Wolves. And it was the three games that season I missed. So I seen every home game, and that was the three games I missed. So I didn't see us beat. I didn't see us win from whenever it was in the Premier League that we didn't win for ages up until it was Rochdale at home. And I remember we were 3-0 up at half time, and I was panicked. I was like, Sunderland could still mess this up. By the way, we won 4-1. It was fine, but it's a scarring within the fan base, probably over, especially the newest generation, which is probably the most social media savvy of the lot of us, that things are just gonna go south. If something's gonna go wrong, something's not gonna work out. We're not gonna get where we want to be, and it's almost like they set themselves up for like a failure, which is just. I try to think about it, but I think when it comes to momentum, and I've gone, is momentum important? Is it not important? And I think it is with Sunderland, and I think it's because the fan base needs something to cling on to. Because like hope's in like short supply sometimes. But Dave, look, me, you, and Sophie are of different ages, different generations in terms of supporting Sunderland. Sadly, we're the older ones, so we're a little bit grayer. But do you know what I mean about that point? I don't know if I've gone too deep into it, Dave, but I was just thinking last night about it. Like, is this fan base too scarred to go in with the team not firing on all cylinders?
Mate, I give him a mention every couple of months. If you think you're scarred off like current or recent history, even getting like relegated to League One and stuff like that, which we had a bit of a jaunt and we had a journey for the first season, and then yes, the 3 seasons after we won't mention. But you've got to remember what it's about. It's not necessarily about entertaining sexy football for a previous manager up the road to have said. It's loving the way of life. It's a religion. People talk about it. It's a religion, and you can't help. We talk about it all the time. We fell in love with Sunderland. Like I reckon
They just didn't understand, man.
that's it. Then. I mean, when you've grown up watching people like Gareth Hall, like it, you didn't need to worry about Trey Hugh because he's class. He's absolutely class, and I know Leo Hjelde. I mean, I'd put Leo Hjelde above Gareth Hall, and that's saying something. He might be the banter bus, but
Mate, he's my favourite player, mate.
oh yeah, he's It's a shame his record's gone. We get that one in.
He's dead
But
again, isn't he? Just before Easter, he's died. Irony.
but it's you know the season isn't over. This part of the season might be over, but the season isn't over. There's still a hell of a lot to play for. We can still get back to the promised land so we can beat Southampton's 10 points that we get relegated on, because that's blatantly what's going to happen next year. So just enjoy the banter bus. You know, it's not great. It hasn't been fantastic. We've had so many injuries. We're protecting people from injuries. We're protecting people from suspensions. It's apathetic. I appreciate that. I promise you now, the fans will be on board. The team will be as strong as ever. That first semi-final, that first leg of the semi-final of the playoffs.
I do want people to think that and visualize it a little bit. I've gone proper therapy deep here, Jesus. I think I was thinking yesterday how like the atmosphere was poor because of the performance on the pitch, and people were getting annoyed. And the team, the fans did try to lift them at points, and then it just got really frustrating because the refs started ruining the game and X, Y, and Z, and then we conceded, and then these things happen. But I was thinking, like, I was talking to the lad behind me. I was like, remember Chef Wed in the playoffs? Like on the Friday night, it was absolutely rocking. And I know we went into that playoff with like momentum, but if you remember how we missed out on the automatics in 1998, and you remember the atmosphere at Sheffield United at home, we got beat off Ipswich on the Tuesday, Wednesday night, I think it was, and then we went and beat Swindon. Phillips scored twice, but we'd missed out on automatic promotion. I'm pretty certain it was 90 points on goal difference. It was awful to miss out to Middlesbrough like that. And then we lost the first leg against Sheffield United, but everyone had this belief in the second leg that we were going to do it. I think it's hard to have belief as a Sunderland fan sometimes, but you kind of just got to have it at this point. The lads have shown enough over the course of the season that they've got this. And I've got a really positive thing that I'm going to come to about the way the team plays in a minute. But before we do, I think the thing I probably wanted to mention, Sophie, Harrison Jones played yesterday. I spoke about him the other week. I think it was after Chef Wed. I thought he came on and did quite well. I think he looked all right when he came on. He wasn't amazing yesterday. He wasn't that impactful. None of them were, but really good to see a local lad getting a first team start and a first start for him. And I think he fitted in well enough. I don't think he did anything wrong. I think he did all right. I think he's got a little bit something about him. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's kind of a future Chris Rigg in terms of ability. He's just a little bit behind Chris Rigg, but he was very good, neat and tidy, and that's what you want sometimes from a midfielder, particularly in a game like that. He didn't shine, but at the same time, he didn't look like an academy player. When sometimes you put players in and you think, yeah, he's not ready. I think he was. And yeah, I think it's a good thing. When we had 5 graduates, academy graduates in the team yesterday. And I think that's only a good thing. And it shows the level of talent that we've got and the talent conveyor belt, which is a good thing.
I just can't wait to sell them all to Brighton.
Don't say that.
I know. That's one thing I did want to talk about as well, Sophie, though, the backdrop of like me being quite pleased to see Harrison Jones in the team. And look, some people said, oh, he doesn't look ready. So I thought he looked fine. He didn't blow the game apart. I didn't expect him to. I thought he looked tidy, and I don't think he looked overawed. He didn't look like an academy kid in the team for the first time. I agree with you on that. Who did though for me was Tommy Watson,
Yeah.
and it's annoyed me a bit because me, Brad, and Pete talked to ourselves last week, and we talked ourselves into about him playing. We said, look, Mundell's injured. At the time, we thought we'd done for the season. It looks like he might be back for the playoffs. Thank God. But Watson, we said play him and let him show that he wants to end the season on a high. And he pulled out a couple of tackles yesterday. And every time he had a chance to go forward, I mean, the one way he could have passed it towards the Wilson. I mean, what's he shooting for there? Like, just pass it to Wilson. He's wide open. Would have probably been offside, like based on yesterday. But I think for me, what Watson doesn't look interested. And a lot of the listeners' questions, which I was looking through, were saying, "Do we play Watson again?" He got booed when he came off the pitch. I don't like that, but I can understand it. Like I heard someone shout in the crowd and said, "Oh, Judas." I think it's a bit harsh, but I understand people who pay their hard-earned cash to watch Sunderland play. See a kid has played 5 games or something, started 5 games. wants to leave at the first sniff of like a Premier League club coming in, doesn't seem to be putting in any effort in the team where he could put in effort and he could end on a high and he could take us to the playoffs and at Wembley and he could really perform. We know he's got the talent. We've seen it in those 5 games. There's a reason there's a team paid that much money for him. But for me, he was okay against Norwich. I don't want to go into therapy again here, but I feel like he looked uninterested yesterday, Sophie. He didn't look right, and I'm questioning whether you play him.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Sunderland trauma, isn't it? I think we've all got Sunderland trauma. We've all got scars from Sunderland. But yeah, I mean, I thought that when we were watching the Norwich game, to be honest, I did. And I think that ever since his transfer has been announced, I mean, I think he has been like that. And look, we're gonna have to play him. I don't see the point of playing someone like, I don't know, Enzo on the wing when we could play Enzo in the middle and get more of an impact. I don't know. That's up to Reggie to decide. But I don't like the booing because I think, he is an academy lad, and I don't know, especially when he's got a part to play still. Clearly, he has still got a part to play. He's still in Sunderland colours. Let's support him while he's here. But I do think that he doesn't look interested because almost, I don't know, it didn't matter to him, clearly. If we were in the championship next season and Brighton have come in, of course, we would never stand in anyone's way, and would like to think that everyone agrees with me on that. Because this summer, regardless of what league we're going to be in, it's going to be an important summer in terms of sales and stuff. So, but it hasn't mattered to him which division we're in. We could be in the same division as Brighton next season,
Doesn't care.
and he doesn't care. So, and
It's
that
the
didn't play an impact.
it's the timing of the announcement for me. That's what's knackered it all. I think we kind of all expect him to go in the summer, and you would have gone, okay, fine. Like, and then if we'd gone up, you'd say you'd probably even go, but could we get him back on loan? Like, could we have him for a season? And I just think it's been such a sorry way that it's been dealt with. I don't think it's a club's fault either. I don't. I know some people think that there's the club's to blame in some way. I've seen some people saying that when it came out, but for me, look, I don't know if he's interested or not. I don't know if he cares because I'm not in his head. But it looks like that. I think the best case scenario is he looks like he's been affected by the fact he knows he's not going to be here. And
Anyway.
the kid I seen play against Sheffield United away and the kid I seen play against Stoke at home, that's not the same kid. And for me, if I'm Brighton, that would be quite a red flag, to be honest with you. Because if you kind of give your all for your hometown club, when can you? But look, as you said, I think in a way, by not playing him, you either put Enzo on the wing. Please don't put Enzo on the wing. For me, I'd maybe put my Endo on the left, but again, you don't want my Endo on the left. Not really. And then the argument is, well, Winston Instador. Wow, Wilson Isidor gets a guaranteed start. And Dave, that's something I wanted to chat to you about. I think it's 8 games without a goal now for Wilson, and there seems to be this narrative revolving around him that doesn't have much nuance. That he's not very good. He is. He's really good. A really good player. He's going through a really tough time at the minute. I think the penalties he missed at Burnley are really still affecting him. Firstly, though, it's not like say, oh, he's great, it's going to be fine. He is playing poorly at the minute. The amount of times he was offside yesterday, I could have strangled him. Please, look, Wilson, I know you follow the podcast, mate. I don't think you listen, but if you are, stay on side, mate. It's really annoying. But I back him. Look, I love Wilson. I think his character is exactly what we wanted at the club. I think he's got quality. I think he's a scorer of great goals, not a great scorer of goals, if that makes sense. I think he's going to score your goals in patches, but does that mean his next patch comes around the playoffs? Well, it's certainly got a better chance if, we don't tell him he's a League One player. Um, for me, Wilson is a concern at the minute, Dave, but are people being a bit overreactive?
I think his performances are a reflection on the team's performances. I think the fact that we're just in a little bit of a slump, if that's what you want to call it, and a little bit kind of negative tactically and negative tactically. Jesus, that's easy to say on a Sunday morning.
We're never doing a morning podcast ever again. I'm eating a sausage sandwich, so I'm slurring my words because I had a few beers yesterday. Dave can't say words. I can't pronounce our players' names. Sophie's holding the entire thing up again.
Absolute shock horror. Some things don't change. Yeah, form is temporary, class is permanent. That's the one, isn't it? And I'm sure it'll come around again. I'm sure he'll bend one in the top corner at some point, and it'll all be forgiven and all be forgotten. And that's football, isn't it? It's such a fickle game, and it'll.
I think the world's reactive at the minute. I'm not just having to go at like Twitter or like some fans that were saying things that I thought was overreactive yesterday. I think the way the world works, this is a proper therapy session. This, Jesus Christ, it's proper Sunday morning, isn't it? But like, I think the way the world is at the minute, it's like instant reaction to stuff because of the way social media is. Like, it's an instant reaction to things, and I think I've probably done it. Like, I was sitting on the train yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, Graham, don't bother getting into these discussions about like whether Wilson is it. Like, you know your thought process. Saying it online is not going to make a difference." And I went, "No, you know what? I've got an hour to get back to Glasgow. I'm going in." Like, I didn't need to say that, but I reacted to another reaction to a reactive comment. Like, and it spirals in that. But for me, I agree. I think Wilson at points is class. The chances he misses, I'll never know how that happens sometimes. The one against Preston, I'll never understand. But one of the listeners' questions was, when was the last time he had a good game? He hasn't. Oh no, he hasn't played well since Borough. He scored his best goal of the season against Leeds. It wasn't his fault we got beat. But I do think there is also at the same time constructive criticism to be had there with Wilson. There's an argument to say his service has not been great, but I thought Roberts played well yesterday. I thought he was the only one with pass marks, if I'm totally honest. And Trey's always decent, isn't he? I thought Roberts actually had a good game yesterday, which is a bit of a shame, really, because, well, yeah, when Roberts is playing well, the team normally plays well. I feel like Wilson maybe it's a combination of his snatching stuff, he's frustrated, he's low in confidence. I definitely think the two penalties against Burnley have affected him, which is a shame, really. But something's playing on his mind. You can see it by the way he's kind of trying to blame decisions or like he's trying to call for fouls. You can see he's getting frustrated. He's not firing all cylinders. But I think the reaction to that isn't like, oh, he's only worth 3 million. That's what you pay for. Like his price tag doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you pay for a player. We paid 10 million for Jack Rodwell. He was shite. We paid 350,000 for Kevin Phillips. He's God. Best striker I've ever seen in my life. Best striker I'll ever see in my life. It doesn't matter. I think the reaction to Wilson not playing well is maybe just a don't be don't be not critical of him because I think that's stupid. You've got to be critical of players, but be a bit more constructive with it. Like he did the post match interview yesterday, and people were like blah 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 blah, and like come on, man. Like he showed many times that he's pretty decent. Are you on a hill, Dave? Where are you?
Sorry, I couldn't hit unmute. No, mate, I'm currently sat outside the pub.
Oh, it's a wall.
Cotswold Stone. It's posh round here, man.
Mate, I thought it was a mountain. I'm not even joking. I thought you'd gone to Ben Nevis just by the time I'd ranted about Twitter and that. But okay, moving on. So there's been some decent listeners' questions, Sophie, that I quite liked. Um, I think this is a good one, and it kind of flies in the face of me talking about everyone being up for it for the home leg of the tie and stuff like that. Which I still think we will be. But when was the last time we played really well at home?
I'm not too sure. I don't know. I always think at the start of the season, was amazing in terms of when we were high press, aggressive, that type of thing. Obviously, you can't keep that up for 90 minutes all season long. But I personally really enjoyed Borough at home. I think that was and don't get me wrong, that was right at the start of the season. But performances haven't been there, but we've got results, and sometimes
Mhm.
we've all said it at certain points. Teams that grind out results are successful, no matter how they play. And sometimes I think that's been the case with us this season. Obviously, we were fantastic up until Christmas, and then January, February, we started getting a bit leggy. He probably should have rotated when we were all asking him to rotate, and he was quite stubborn with that. I think it was because he was still chasing the top two. But Definitely, I think since before Christmas, probably that would be an amazing performance at home. I think there's been purple patches all season long.
I try to think myself, and I went back through the fixtures, the wonder of Google, which allows me to do that because my memory's faltering. Sheffield United New Year's Day was the last time I was at. That was good.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there.
No, neither was I. I
I'm
watched it
not
on the telly.
holiday.
I was absolutely ill that day, and I watched it on the telly. But I think that was the last time I watched the performance and went, "Ooh, good." Like my ender was brilliant that night, but it did worry me a bit when the question came through because I went, ah. But then I've been thinking about this again. I've been thinking really deep on these journeys back. Like, come with me into the world of therapy for the fourth time in the 40-minute podcast. I've been thinking about why have we dropped off? Because there's no denying it. As much as I'm probably more in the glass half full camp at the minute, there's no denying that the style of football's changed. The high press we had in those first sort of five-ish home games and away games where we were just like nicking the ball off people and then going on and breaking on them with speed and pace and power. And a lot of that was governed by Riggy's performances. Riggy was like almost like a front two at points at the start of the season, and he'd be like absolutely running himself into the ground, chasing, harrying, getting the ball, and then making the right pass. Then you had like Roberts, Mayenda, Wilson when he came to the team in September could all break on that and feed on it. And then you had Daniel picking the right pass if he like broke in, if he got the ball and we broke. And I thought like, why hasn't he rested Riggy beforehand? And here's my thought process. And look, I don't know. Like, if I was a football genius, I'd be a football coach. I'm not. I'm a podcaster, which is massively different. But I've kind of thought over the past few weeks how important Chris Rigg has been to the way that Sunderland play in terms of the way Reggie Breach wants us to play. And I think a lot of the way that Sunderland play in terms of like being regimented, in terms of not breaking positions too much, which can look quite defensive, relies on Riggy pressing really high up the pitch. And I thought, is that why he hasn't dropped Riggy? He doesn't trust anyone to do the same role as Riggy, even when Riggy's absolutely knackered. And Riggy has been, I don't want to say off form, he's played like a 17-year-old that's played a 40-game season from about December time, maybe even slightly earlier. And we've lost a bit of it because the press is not as high because Riggy can't get around the pitch as much because he's look, his legs are a bit, he's probably going to be feeling like lead by the end of the season. I know he had that month off, but he was injured, so it's not like he's been able to like rest and recuperate totally. His legs were like actually injured at that point. And then I was thinking, well, how do you remedy that? Like, how do you change things? And I thought the performance at Norwich was awful for about an hour. I thought the performance yesterday was even worse for about 65 minutes. And I thought the final half an hour at Norwich was better. And I thought the final 25 minutes yesterday was better. And there was one massive thing that changed in those time periods, and that was Enzo Lefe got introduced into the pitch. Now, he's the better number 10 of Riggy. He actually went a little bit deeper yesterday, but it's interesting how we looked a bit better, a bit more high press, a bit better on the transition when we had a number 10 that was fit and firing on all cylinders and fresh. So I feel like the drop off a little bit has come probably in line with the fact that no one's as good as doing it as Riggy is. Riggy's knackered, so he dropped off a bit compared to what he was like at the start of the season when he was fresh and firing on all cylinders. And I think it can change and revert back to what it used to be when Enzo's fresh, fit, and firing and ready to start games. Which makes me think, Dave, because I think he's been brilliant in the past two games. I think yesterday he looked a joke. The boy's on another level. If we don't go up, there's no way he's staying. He could play in the Premier League without a shadow of a doubt. He could play top 10 in the Premier League. How important is it going to be Enzo Lefe coming back and not just the quality of play he's got, but the way that he fits into Reggie Slabree's team because he understands his system. He's played under him for like donkey's years. He grew up with him. And I think we've already seen how important Riggy is to that high press. If you've got a better player than Riggy, which he is at the minute, Enzo's much better at the moment because he's a more rounded, older, more experienced player. How important is the team going to be, or how important is Enzo going to be to the team in the way that we play when he can start playing full 90 minutes?
Oh, absolutely. He's just a match winner. We got him when he wasn't match fit and he stood out like a sore thumb. He still does now. He's going to be huge. He'll be managed well until the playoffs, and then he'll be unleashed. And I've no doubt that that's going to be very, very positive for us. pretty easy team talk, isn't it? Give the ball to Enzo and see what happens. It's as simple as that. When you've got someone who's so standout, and I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. I really want to get to the Premier League just so we keep him, because I think he'd be probably up there with one of the best footballers I've seen at the stadium, or like in my lifetime, to be honest. Just naturally talented, sees things that nobody else sees. Yeah, scary how good he is. And I think this is where Labry's quite clever and articulate. He won't put too much on him. And if the same with Job and stuff like that, I think they'll all be fighting fit. I think they'll all be ready to go. And I think Sophie already alluded to it earlier. I think we will see a little bit more. Oh, sorry, a lot more intensity. I think we will see a team which is ready for it. Some might say that it's almost very French. It's very English to just go 99 miles an hour until you can't do it anymore. Ask Gareth Southgate and his squad. They burn out before the end of a tournament, and we don't quite get over the line. This could just be a very European way of doing things, and just simmering and just underneath the boil, and then right at the right time, we'll let it go over the top and see how we go. But
I, I feel like Enzo's massive to it, mate. I 100% agree. That's the thing I'm looking at and going, if in my opinion, he's the best midfielder in the teams that could finish in the playoffs without a shadow of a doubt. But I think what people are forgetting, rather than just lumping all the pressure on him, is how important he's going to be to Regis Lebris's team. I can't get my words out, Jesus. But like, I think he knows the way Regis plays more than anyone in that squad, because he's been with him since he was a teenager in the youth squads. I think the way Regis plays someone like an Enzo Lefe or someone like a Chris Riggs vitally important. And I just feel like it makes sense as to why he didn't drop Riggy when he quite clearly needed resting, because he didn't trust anyone else to do that role, and that role's so important to his team. The first time Riggy started getting a little bit of a rest and covered out the team a little bit was when Enzo was in the team, but Enzo was on the left wing, so Riggy still played quite a bit. There's an argument to say if you can get 90 minutes into Enzo in the last two games of the season, which would be Oxford and QPR, get him ready to start from the start and rest Riggy in those games, you've arguably got two players in the playoffs that are a little bit fresher and match fit and fit perfectly into the way that he wants to play. And we might start seeing this front foot, high pressing ability to like change and transition like in a heartbeat. The football that we used to see at the start of the season that we really enjoyed. And I don't know, maybe I've thought too deep about that, but I think it's going to be really important. But listeners' questions was the first one was last time we played really well at home. I like this question as well, so we've got two more. We've got Sophie, what's your starting lineup if everyone's fit for the first leg away from home? And I'm going to include the players that he said in the week, because I think he said that Huggins, Alessi, Mundell, Serkin, Ballard, Sealt, and I might be missing someone with that, but I think he pretty much said that most of them have a chance of being ready for the playoffs or will be ready for the playoffs.
All right, okay. Oh, that's quite a hard one. But I think I'd have to go with our usual back line. Obviously, you've got Pato in there, you've got Mepper, Mornay, and Hume, Serkin. I think that Serkin's been a huge miss since he's been injured, just in terms of going forward. I thought that at Norwich, actually.
Balance in
It's
it.
Shelder's no Serkin.
Helder's better than Serkin. Helder's the best.
He's going to rise on Good Friday
He is.
from the dead.
He's back.
I'm going to play him up front. No, I think then my midfield would be it would have to be Job, Neil. See, I'd want to play Enzo. You know what? I'm going to play Enzo in the 10, Roberts on the right, Mundell on the left, and I'd go Mayender up top.
That's the exact same team I would pick. The only difference I would make, and I know it's not going to happen because he hasn't played for about 40 years, but if we're talking hypothetically and he's fully fit, like match fit, ready to go, which he's never going to be, I'd have Huggins at left back. I love Niall Huggins. I think he's a
I
great
love
defender.
him. He's amazing. He's amazing when he's fit, but he's made of glass.
Yeah, he's a Watson, and he's made a bit of mache. If you get him wet, he's going to crumble. I
He'd
hope
be one
he's
that would be off to Brighton.
yeah. If he's got anything about him, he's just going to go to Brighton. But I would go with that. I agree. I wouldn't. I play a nine over Ballard, and I would play Lefe over Rig. That would be my team. Dave, what would your team be? Is there much sort of change from that? I mean, I'm with Sophie. I'd go Pato. Saying that, if you put Simon Moore in, I'd be okay with that as well, to be completely honest. But I would go Pato for continuity's sake. Your right back's Hume single day of the week. Your left back's probably got to be Sirkin. Your centre half would be O'Nine and Mepham for me. Your midfield three would be Daniel as the deepest. Job kind of slightly further, slightly more advanced. Enzo in that number 10 role. Roberts gets in my team every week. Mundle gets in my team every week if he's fit. And I'd go my ender up top.
Yeah, I I'd struggle to disagree with it. I think I do wonder if they're rested and stuff, and it would mean tweaking it a bit. I do wonder if there was a chance of getting changing formation ever so slightly and getting Rig and Enzo in the same team. I'd love to see that just behind. So it's almost like two number 10s behind a centre forward. I don't think we're going to see that, but
It's
I
hard to
could
do
just,
because you're losing Dan Neil or you're losing Job, and you
yeah,
can't.
exactly that. Yeah. So,
And
um,
you're losing Leo Yelda because he's dead, obviously. So
well, exactly. Yeah. To be fair, his run's gone, so we
dead.
don't want him anywhere near the squad.
He's
If he
dead
could
to
go
me.
back the under 18s, I'd really appreciate it.
Oh, poor Leo.
Absolutely lovely bloke.
Nice lad. Vibes.
Yeah, it's very true.
We've got off topic, haven't we? What was your team?
Can't remember.
Do you go my end or Wilson up top? Because I know my end is flavour of the month, but like in December he was a League One striker, and
Oh,
now he's the best
absolutely.
striker we've ever had.
I don't think we really ever lost faith in them. I think they've
Love
both got
him.
a part to play. It might be a leg each. It might be three quarters of a game. Uh, I don't have a problem with either, to be honest. And I think the other one coming off the bench with 20 minutes to go is a problem for any team that we come up against. So that's a great option to have. Personally, I think who comes off the bench better would be Isidor, because I think when Wilson's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder and he's not the main man, I think he performs a little bit better. So I'd sit him on the bench and let him be a moody Frenchman, and then go on then, what you got, and see what happens.
I think when you look at like the choices we have up front with Wilson and Mayenda, it's a really nice one to have, and you can bring on Wilson, who's probably like you say, I think better off the bench in this scenario. Mayenda's like speed, pace, and power. He's like a bit of a battering ram. You could say it's probably one of those forward lines that we used to have in the previous promotion season when we used to play with Stephen Elliott or Chris Brown up front, and then Brian Dean would come on at the end as a wrecking ball centre half when we got promoted in 2005. Very akin to that. No, not really. Some people have been like, Brian Dean played for Sunderland. He did. But final question, we've gone with silly ones recently because the games have been so like forgettable and we've somehow made a 50-minute podcast out of it. But someone's asked what's our favourite drink. It doesn't have to be alcoholic. And I mean, I've got to go with Dave first because well, you own a pub, mate. So, what is your favorite drink?
Well, considering I'm a bit of a binge drinker and I don't really drink that much, but when I do, I go all in. But I've just had one this morning because Leanne brought me one round to work, and I've just had a Tenzing, and I absolutely love it. I love this stuff. It's absolutely brilliant. Natural
What's it?
caffeine. Tenzing.
What's is it like an alcoholic thing or?
No, no, no. It's natural energy as it is on the tin, but it's
Oh,
basically like natural Red Bull type thing, just
like
full of
this.
caffeine. Oh, nice.
Mine's I've got a Celsius here as we speak.
So yeah, that's my flavour of the month. Alcoholic drink. Love a pint of Henry Weston cider, but I'm a Guinness drinker as well. To be fair.
I like a Guinness, but it's gonna shock no one. This like it's such a cliche for a man who's lived in Scotland for over 10 years, but I don't like the feeling it gives me. Don't like the hangover it gives me. I don't like how caffeinated it is. But you know what I absolutely love? The taste of Buckfast. There's just not like it. Like people talk about Mad Dog 2020 and stuff like that, and Guinness and your Madries or what I don't know. You cannot beat the Buckfast. It just sends us loopy. Like there's a reason it's called Wreck the Hoose juice because it does make you wreck the hoose.
Are we getting some of that for Trafalgar Square?
And mate, it sends me out like west, like to be completely honest. But it's like, look, I'll give you insight into my Buckfast life once. So I drank a full bottle of Bucky and got a mega bus down to Leeds at home in the championship season when we went down. And I was so emotionally drained from the Buckfast in the game that I cried on the way back. I don't know why. I don't know why I cried. I just did. But I so Buckfast is not right for me. So if we'll move on quick before we go like really deep into a therapy session again. But favorite non-alcoholic drink, alcoholic drink or non what favorite drink? As was the question. Sorry.
You know what? We're talking about trauma, and now we're talking about alcoholic drinks. We're going to end up sending people into an
Yeah.
absolute. Everyone's going to be in the pubs. You know what? Alcoholic. It has to be inches on draft.
Mm,
Gosh, like that. I love that. And then non-alcoholic. I'm really boring. I'm going to say Pepsi Max. I love a Pepsi Max so much.
Pepsi
Not
Max cream
Coke.
soda.
Oh, you know what? I had one of them the other week. They were
Oh yeah,
really nice.
really good.
Really nice.
I've got a full fridge of them. Well, I used to have. I don't have many. I've got one left. I was just going to have one afterwards. I was hoping you were going to mention it, so I could tell everyone that I was doing that. But I don't know if we've made a podcast out of this. If you've made it this far, fair play. Do you know when people go, "Oh, we like What the Falk. I think it's the best Sunderland podcast." Well, this flies in the face of your opinion. Please unsubscribe. But Sophie, Dave, thanks for joining me. Cheers.